Welcome to Meera Codes. In the previous video, we understood the IoC and learned that the Spring takes the responsibility for creating and managing the objects. But this raises a question, who actually performs this work? The answer is the Spring container. So in this video, let's understand what the Spring container is and what exactly it does. Before Spring, we were responsible for creating the objects in our application as needed. As application became larger, there could be hundreds of objects and many dependencies between them. So we need something that takes the responsibility for creating and managing these objects. That's where the Spring container comes in. Spring container is the core component responsible for managing the objects in a Spring application. It creates the objects, provides the required dependencies, and manages their life cycle. Objects that are created and managed by the Spring container are called Spring Beans. Container, as simply it is not an object factory, it performs several responsibilities. It creates the required objects, connects their dependencies, and manages those objects throughout their life cycle. So the container is responsible for much more than just creating an object. Here we have two classes. Employee repository is marked with the @ repository, and employee service is marked with the @ service. Spring can detect these classes and create the objects for them. The container also understands that the employee service needs the employee repository and can provide that dependency. When our Spring application starts, the Spring container is initialized. It defines the classes that needs to be managed, creates their objects, and connect their dependencies. So once this setup is completed, our application is ready to use those objects. A simple way to remember the Spring container is think of it as a manager. So instead of every class creating and managing its own dependencies, the Spring container manages those objects and their relationships. Another important Spring term is a bean. A Spring bean is simply an object that is created and managed by the Spring container. For example, if a Spring creates an employee service object and manages it, that object is called Spring bean. So now let's connect our previous topics. IoC means Spring takes the control of object creation and the dependency management. The Spring container is the part of the Spring that performs this responsibility. It creates and manages the beans and it injects their dependencies. The definition is the Spring container is the core component of a Spring responsible for creating, configuring, managing the Spring beans and their dependencies. Now we have one more question. How does Spring know which classes needs to be create and manage? For example, how does it know that employee service should become a Spring bean? This is where the configuration and the component scanning come into a picture. So now we know that Spring container is responsible for creating and managing the objects, and these managed objects are called Spring beans. But how exactly does Spring identify these classes and turn them into the beans? And what happens to the bean after Spring creates it? In the next video, we will go deeper into the Spring beans, what they are, how they are created, and how Spring manages them. See you in the next one. Thank you for watching.